Hey there everybody, hope your day is going well. Drew Carried with Old School Gaming here, and welcome to my First Gen PokeTalk. These will be taking place while I am grinding off camera. And yes, it does have to be off camera, because otherwise there would just be hours of footage that I would have to record, edit, link together, and yeah, it would not be worth it at all. For now, I'm just going to be grinding almost all the Pokemon I've caught up to level 12. And I say almost, I'll be getting to that in a few. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that, well, these are First Gen PokeTalks. And some of the things I talk about may or may not apply to later gens. For instance, a Steel type wasn't actually introduced until I want to say Gen 3. I don't remember anything in the Johto anime about Steel types, although I could be wrong. Now let's get the trades out of the way. First, Red will be trading an extra Weedle to Yellow for an extra Mankey. Then, Blue will be trading an extra Pikachu to Yellow for another extra Mankey. Now, as I'm sure you noticed, the Blue and Yellow trade was absolutely no leveling at all. It was just as is. And that's for two reasons. Number one, Yellow actually has much better learn sets. So might as well get that extra Pikachu over to Yellow to have better moves. Now, since Blue cannot actually catch a Mankey, normally it would have adopted the learn set from Yellow, which is much better than the Mankey caught in Red. But for some reason, that didn't happen. I don't know why, it just didn't. But whatever, I'm just gonna keep rolling with the punches and moving on. Now the second reason that this trade is happening is actually the same reason why Red and Blue caught an extra Pikachu named Thunder. For all three games, Thunder will eventually evolve into Raichu, and once it does, well, then it can finally start entering the rotation. Now, before I get too far off topic from talking about learn sets, once Pokemon start leveling up, start getting new moves, I'm going to be setting things up to where most of them will have 2 normal attacks and 2 special attacks. The exception to that would be Pokemon that are just normal type anyway. Then it'll just be 4 normal attacks. I'll pick and select which ones they keep, which ones they forget. Now, a burning question on some people's mind, why start with Squirtle? Because I know there's plenty of people who are Team Charmander, there's plenty of people who are Team Bulbasaur, but me, I chose Squirtle for my starter. And the main reason is the battle with Asphalt. And if I win that fight, I get to go to Oak for 5 free Pokeballs. And hell, why not? Now, if I had chosen Charmander, he would have chosen Squirtle. And by the time that battle rolls around, Squirtle would have known Bubble. So taking out Charmander in 2 hits, 1 critical. A very similar situation if I had chosen Bulbasaur. He would have chosen Charmander. And by that time, Charmander would have known Ember. So once again, taking out in just 2 hits, maybe 1 critical. And it wouldn't even have mattered how many potions I had on me. Would not have won the battle. So I had to choose Squirtle. Because that way he chooses Bulbasaur. And by that time, the only grass-type move that it knows is Leech Seed. While Leech Seed is a grass-type move, it's not an attack. So it's not super effective. And I can just win the battle with, well, a bit of luck and a bit of random rolls. And of course the AI is so stupid, keeps using the Leech Seed even though it only works once. And then get back to Oak for 5 free Pokeballs because, hey, how can you turn down free stuff? Now for the Pokemon storage system on someone's PC, where there are 12 boxes. I'm going to have a bit of organization there, just to make things a bit easier when I'm looking for a certain Pokemon. I'll know exactly which box to go to and just quickly grab it out instead of searching box 1. Where is it? Where is the one I'm looking for? Okay, it's not here. Switch to box 2. Is it in here? So on and so forth. At least for the most part. Because the first 4 boxes are actually just going to be random Pokemon. Whoever doesn't fit into one of the other boxes, throw them into one of the first 4. Box number 5 will be for unruly Pokemon. That box is already being occupied in red and blue with Mankey, and in yellow for that extra Pikachu. Box number 6 is going to be Pokemon that I will be holding for trades. Whether I'm holding the trade between the cartridges and just waiting for, one of, like if I'm holding one in blue, waiting for yellow to get a certain Pokemon, or vice versa, or maybe one in red for the other 2, it'll just be sitting in there until the appropriate trade partner gets what they need. Or, of course, when I get to certain points in the game and an NPC wishes to do a trade, then the Pokemon will come out of that box and go to them for whatever they may want to trade that's exclusive and I can't get anywhere else. And then starts trading. Box number 7 will be for new captures. It'll just be super nice and easy just to have all my new captures go into one box. That way when I go into a grinding session, just, okay, here's all the new Pokemon, just grab them out. Okay, now go heal them all, and then go grind to whatever level. Box number 8 is going to be a Pokemon that I'm holding for evolution. And so far, 3 Pokemon are occupying that box. First is Caterpie, second is Weedle, and the third is Thunder, the extra Pikachu. And my end goal will be to register all 151 into the Hall of Fame, not just on the cartridges, but also in Pokemon Stadium. It will just be so much easier to just, keep them as is, then go grind, evolve them later into whatever stage. And Pikachu will be registered as Lightning, while Raichu will be registered as Thunder, for all three. And that's, of course, why Red and Blue caught an extra Pikachu, an extra Thunder, that they will be keeping for themselves, just to make things even for the finale. Box number 9 will be occupied by Pokemon that can use some type of Wrap move. Whether the move's actually called Wrap, maybe it's Constrict, there's Fire Spin, Bind? Yeah, another one is Bind. I think I might be missing one, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Now, the main reason that box exists is because I'm going to be doing a lot of grinding. Just a lot. And unfortunately, even the lowest attack can take out a wild Pokemon in one hit. But Wrap is the absolute weakest attack, so I can just, shave off a few hit points at a time, and okay, you're ready to be captured, Pokeball, go! Now, box number 10 will be for Flying-type Pokemon. And that main reason is because there's going to be a lot of grinding done in Diglett's tunnel. The main reason for that is I've always noticed that there are more encounters in caves or in certain buildings where you actually encounter Pokemon just by walking around. And Diglett's Cave is a great place to grind, because you always know what you're going to run into no matter what. Unfortunately, some of the higher level Diglett and even the Doug Trio will know Dig, and even certain Pokemon that are resistant to it, or maybe just aren't weak to it, can take a pretty heavy hit. So if I just quickly swap out for whatever flying Pokemon is on my belt, then no damage taken. Box number 11 will be the HM Pokemon. And I am not creating a Pokemon that is just only HMs. It's only one HM on a Pokemon, no other Pokemon get that. Because every Pokemon does have its uses and is eventually strong. Some Pokemon do take a long while, but they do get there. And finally, box number 12 is really not going to be used by anyone except Yellow. That is Pokemon I will be holding for the next generation, which will mainly be the prize Pokemon from Pokemon Stadium. Because eventually I'll want, Red and Blue to have, a Bulbasaur and a Charmander. And I'll want everyone to have not just Hitmonlee, but Hitmonchan as well. Kabuto and Ammonite. And want them to be able to have every evolution from Gen 1. But that's definitely going to take a while. I'm going to be getting a lot of prize Pokemon when that comes around. And all the extras will eventually be transferred to Gen 2. Because why not? At least in Gen 2 there's breeding, so if I'm missing any, well, I can always breed for more. Now, as I am currently grinding everyone to level 12, I will eventually be selecting 3 teams that travel through Viridian Forest. One for red, one for blue, one for yellow. Now, the way I'm going to be selecting, well, we're just going to start with red. Go from 1 to 151, and then start back over at the top. So obviously, for red, the first one going out will be Squirtle. Then, as the trainer's eye battles send out another Pokemon, I'm going to be sending out the next. And once the battle's over, I'm just going to cycle through, make sure whoever didn't battle is first out for the next trainer battle. Wild battles will not count. And if I run into a wild Pokemon that whoever went out first can't do jack nor shit against, then I'll just run away real quick. But if I encounter a trainer and it's just, well, the first Pokemon that got sent out is kind of a crap choice, I'm just gonna roll with it and see what happens. Should create for some, well, fairly interesting battles. And of course, with the way teams are going to be just rolling out, there will be quite a few repeats until I start catching more Pokemon. Unfortunately, the next batch I'm catching won't actually be until I get to Mount Moon. I'll sneak around the different trainers so I won't have to battle them, catch the different Pokemon from Mount Moon, get out, start grinding. And that's where repeats will not be as drastic. Once I get past Cerulean City, then the repeats will pretty much stop altogether. Now, as promised at the end of my last First Gen Pokemon video, I will be talking about the 4 starters. We have Bulbasaur, we have Charmander, we have Squirtle, and we have Pikachu. First, let's start with the Bulbasaur. Definitely a great Pokemon. The absolute best grass type in First Gen. Unfortunately, it is also a poison type, which does make it susceptible to certain moves, like Psychic. But aside from that, once Bulbasaur is, leveled up and evolved all the way into Ivysaur and then Venusaur, it is the best balanced Pokemon in terms of attack and defense. It can take a good beating, and it can dish out a good beating as well. Now let's move on to Charmander. Charmander is definitely a unique one, because as it evolves into Charmeleon, still a fire type, but then into Charizard, becomes fire and flying, which gives it a whole new set of unique, weaknesses and advantages. It definitely does become a very speedy type, especially once evolved into Charizard. And it is a heavy damage dealer. Even against, like water types. If it knows some normal attacks, it can take the hits. At least once it hits a certain level. Definitely not against the rival battle up on Route 22. Definitely a favorite among many fans, and hell, I can definitely see why. As for the third starter, Squirtle. Now, Squirtle is definitely a robust Pokemon, evolving first into Wartortle and then into Blastoise. This Pokemon is definitely a tank. It can take a lot of hits, and it can survive almost anything that isn't grass or electric type. If you want a Pokemon that can just soak up a lot of attacks, then this might be your choice. And finally, we have my personal favorite, Pikachu. Now, as I've mentioned many times, and this may or may not be the last time I mention it, Yellow was my first gen game, so I never really got a choice between Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle. The Eevee was sitting on the table, Asphalt came in, stole it, and then I got Pikachu. But as a bonus, I did get the other 3 starters throughout the course of the game. But even still, electric types are one of those just ridiculously OP types in first gen. Second only to Psychic. Pikachu may not be able to evolve without a Thunderstone, which sucks even more for someone like me. After all, when I was playing First Gen back in the 90s, no one around me had another cartridge of red or blue, let alone a link cable to trade, so I could get an extra Pikachu that would actually evolve into Raichu. But that downside aside, Pikachu is definitely a great Pokemon, with a very high special, and learning some very nice normal type attacks. Pikachu can take on just about anything except a rock and ground type. Or, hell, it can even take on just ground types. You know, a few quick attacks and boom, Pikachu wins. And pretty much anything that isn't ground, a few electric attacks and boom, Pikachu wins. Or grass. And that is it for the first Gen PokeTalk. I really hope you enjoyed. Next time, I will be taking the 3 teams through the Viridian Forest, battling trainers, and making my way to Pewter City, where I will eventually be getting the Boulder Badge. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell so you can always be notified whenever I might upload a video, and of course, have fun.